You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in all ways, and so if I'm spending time with a superstar, then that'll lift me up over time.
This show is dedicated to helping you strengthen your family tree and live financially free. Thank you for being here today, everybody. We have 2 amazing financial all-stars on the show today, Erik Tozier and Gwen Merz. You might remember Erik as our Money Master of the Week from February. At 25 years old, Erik has grown his income to over $100K per year and has an impressive savings rate of 50%. Yes, 50%. He's developed a podcast and blog called The Mastermind Within, where he's sharing the tips and tricks for others to succeed financially like he has. I also have Gwen Merz on the show today. Gwen is the co-host of the extremely popular Fire Drill podcast, which was a finalist for Best New Personal Finance Podcast by Plutus last year. She also runs a popular personal finance blog called Fiery Millennials, which focuses on the power of financial independence. Last year, Erik and Gwen became a couple. And, oh man, their story of love and personal finance was so perfect for the show, I just had to invite them on. Welcome to the show, Erik and Gwen. How are you doing?
Thanks for having us on. We're doing well.
Thanks, Andy.
Absolutely. Erik, how did you guys meet? How did this love happen?
This is definitely a blogger story made in heaven. We actually met through the blogs, and back in May, I wrote a post, and during last May, I started a business, and I got really busy, but I still wanted to keep my blog going, and so what I was getting in a bad habit of is I'd wake up at 5, like before work in the morning at 5, and I would just write whatever was on my mind, and I hit publish. And one morning I woke up and I had in this thought, I was like, I'm going to write this post that's completely ridiculous. It's a joke post. It's, I want to find a wife just to reduce my taxes.
I love it.
And the gist of the post was, I don't care how much she makes. I prefer if she didn't have debt. I just want someone that I can claim as a dependent. And some people, they thought it was hilarious. Some people thought, they didn't necessarily get the joke. They were like, oh, well, there's different things. Like, I'm like, whatever. But anyways, that was the first time we interacted, because then Gwen commented, and it's too bad we don't have the comment up, but she commented something ridiculous. I commented something back ridiculous, and then we took it offline to Twitter. And then that's how we met. And then a month later, I had a barbecue. I live in Minnesota, and well, now she does live in Minnesota, but at the time she was down in Iowa. And so I said, hey, I'm having this barbecue for bloggers and other people who are our age, younger people, I guess. And then if you want to come up, it'd be great. And she ended up coming up. And so at the barbecue, at some point it turned into a date, and we ended up kicking some butt at cornhole or bags or whatever you want to call that game. And then at that point, I was like, oh, you're pretty awesome. So let's keep seeing each other.
I love it. Gwen, what about this trip up there just made you think that Erik was the guy?
Well, it wasn't anything in particular. That wasn't the goal of me coming up to this. I'd actually been up to Minneapolis a couple of weeks before that for an FI blog meetup. And I was like, he told me that there were going to be some FI blogger people there. And I was like, sweet, I like to see those people. I'll see them again. And I got up here and there was nobody that I knew up here. But I was like, sweet, no people to meet. Awesome. And then, I don't know, just something about him.
Very cool. And I understood that there was the second date that happened after this that wasn't in Minneapolis. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So where did that take place, Erik?
So that was also interesting. So Gwen was going to Las Vegas to visit friends for the 4th of July that next weekend. And then those friends decided that it was more important to go get a
They
camper.
accidentally bought a camper on eBay and needed to go pick it up in the next 4 days. But the problem was that they were in Las Vegas and they needed to get to West Virginia to buy the camper.
Oh, wow. That's quite a journey.
Was quite the journey. And so they said, hey, we left the key with the concierge, enjoyed the condo. We hope you have a great time, and we may or may not see you before you leave.
And so then, yeah, it was Friday afternoon. I'm at work, and Gwen starts texting me like, hey, I wish you were coming to Las Vegas with me because I'm going to be alone, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, I'm not doing anything this weekend. Let me check out flights. And then I had to confirm that housing would be free, because if I had to pay for housing, then I might not have came. But since I only had to pay for airlines, then it worked out.
So I see how the frugal sensibility was still there even as you're looking for love here.
That's not frugal, that's cheap.
Oh, okay.
And also what's funny is that we did our spreadsheets because it was the end of the month or the beginning of July. So we did our spreadsheets, and I didn't have a line item for travel until I bought the tickets, so that I had to add in the plane tickets.
I'm glad the budget could accommodate the opportunity in Vegas. So I mean, you guys are bringing up something interesting to me here. You know, when you are financially conscious, or you have a sort of FI inspired life, and you're single, the dating scene might be a little different than the average Joe, right? I mean, Gwen, what was it like when you were single and you're pursuing FI?
Honestly, it was terrible, and I did not like playing the dating game. Just because I inadvertently made people feel bad about how they weren't their money. And so, like, there was this one guy, he was a lawyer that I went on a date with, and things were going smashingly well until all of a sudden they weren't. And he felt really bad because he had, like, this BMW they drove all around, and he still had student loan debt, and like completely different. And I was like, no, it's okay, like it's fine, but it was nothing. So, but I would say that I went on a lot of walks around the park, or coffee dates, or some other equally low price first date option. So nobody felt really obligated to continue just because they'd sunk money into it.
Yeah, and as you're meeting with these guys and hearing about their lifestyles, those are the types of things that you were either interested in right away, or you knew right away, hey, this is not for me. Like, it sounds like that was the case with the lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that kind of a dead duck there that just did not go anywhere.
Got to end it right there. So, Erik, I understand you had some equal difficulty when I heard the story about you were dating somebody in 2015, and the lady wasn't overly excited about your financial independence plans.
Yeah, well, I've been motivated by wealth since college, and so even going back before then, when I was dating her, we actually were both comfortable about talking with money together, but the disconnect was that my goals were much more long-term thinking, if that makes sense, and hers are more short-term, where after I got my full-time job, I bought a house and had my 3 roommates move in. And so putting $10,000 as a down payment, she got upset because she wanted that $10,000 to go towards potentially a ring.
Oh, all right.
And so even though that, like, I'm very fortunate, my family is very good with money, and her family as well. They were very successful with their careers. Her family was really successful with money as well. So both of us had that value of money, but again, it was just a long-term versus short-term disconnect where, like, yeah, it was just like, okay, I want to build wealth for the future. When I'm 30, when I'm 35, I want to be worth a lot of money, and I need to take care of housing, or I need to take care of investments when I'm 22, 23, if I want to get to that extreme wealth. And that was my thought. She was like, oh, we have plenty of time. I'm like, okay, well, and so I don't know. It was, I don't know really what to say there, but it's also a little bit different on the guy's side as well.
Yeah.
There's different I don't know what you call it. There's different expectations where,
Sure.
Like, I'm sure that with Gwen, like, if a girl cares about money too much, there's the expectation or there's a thought that she's a gold digger, even though, like, it's perfectly okay to think about money as a woman or a man. It doesn't matter.
Well, you mentioned that your parents helped you to have a little bit of that money mindset when you were growing up. Did most of your influence on wanting to realize financial independence or build your wealth come from your parents, or did you have other influences as you were getting into your early 20s and saying, "Hey, this is something I want to do"?
Yeah, it was really. I was raised where my grandparents had a huge influence on me, and my parents did as well, where they were just throughout. It wasn't necessarily like pushing me, but I was working when I was 13, 14. They taught me how to save. They taught me how to kind of budget. My dad's an accountant, so he kind of a little bit showing me how to like categorize stuff. And then even my grandparents, like, I think my grandparents still save part of their social security check. Like, it's just so ingrained in them. And so when I went to go visit during the summer for a week, my grandma would say, "Okay, here's $12, and you can here's what we can do. We're gonna go to the store. You can spend $1. You could spend $12. It doesn't like." But at the end of the day, you're only getting $12. So use it wisely. And that like stuck with me. And then by the end once I got into my teenage years and she gave me $12, I just pocketed it. So once I realized like, oh, I don't need to spend money on baseball cards. I could just keep it for the future. Like, I don't know. That was what was ingrained in me growing up. And then at the end of college, I started working for one of my dad's companies, and I started to be exposed to what he was doing, but then also started having thoughts of like, okay, once I have a real job and once I have real income coming in, like, how do I build wealth for the future? So when I was 20, I started having this goal of financial freedom. One of my things, and this is something that I look up to you, is in the future, I want to have the ability to have my wife stay at home. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, my mom was lucky enough to do that. And that gave me the opportunity to have a very strong relationship with her. And so that's, like, one of my motivators. But then, yeah, so from a young age, I looked up to my dad. And he was one of my main influences for, like, going for big-time wealth.
That's great. That's great. Sounds like you grew up in a great family that not only gave you good lessons on the importance of saving, but also the importance of family. So that's awesome, man. And then Gwen, I understand that as you were going through college, the situation that you went through, not only through your hard work, but also through the influence of your family, is that you were able to go through college completely debt free. And I know that's a tough situation for a lot of America right now coming out of college with the big loans. Could you tell us a little bit about how that went for you?
Yeah, so I worked my butt off in high school. I did extracurriculars and volunteered, and I was in Girl Scouts, and I helped out throughout the school. And so I was just busy all the time between like Girl Scouts and softball and swimming and all the other like AP classes that I was taking and stuff. So I applied for a scholarship, and I had to have a 28 ACT score to get it. And you take it free once through the high school. And, you get a couple days to take it or whatever. And so took it through the high school. I got my score back, and it was a 28. And I was like, done. Don't even need to pay extra money to take it again because I got the score that I needed to have. So I sent it off to the scholarship office with my application that listed all of the things that I'd done. And I actually did not get picked for it at the beginning. I was on like the wait list. I got a room and board voucher for the first year and like a $1,500 scholarship. And so I was like, okay, well, that's not enough. I'm not taking out loans. So then I joined the military. And then right after I signed the name on my dotted line, I got a call from the scholarship office that said somebody turned down their scholarship. for a different school, and I was next on the list, and would I like a free ride to college?
Wow.
And I said, yes, please. And so, so I actually had college paid for not once, but twice over if the scholarship had fallen through.
So the military would have worked, that route would have worked out if you didn't have the other route. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it actually took me 2 semesters to actually pay anything at all for school because of that $1,500 scholarship and some other cash scholarships that I got too. So. Wow.
And then when you were able to graduate, debt-free and then move into your career, how did that ability for you to start building wealth since you were debt-free, how did that open up for you when you were there, no debt, going into your first career? What were the goals that you were looking at that point now that you were debt-free?
Oh my gosh, it was so huge to graduate without any student loan debt because I could just worry about the expenses that I needed, like if I needed gas, I could put gas in the car. If I needed food, or I didn't have to worry about like the price of my housing. So just the freedom from having to worry about the impact that a student loan payment would have on my finances was huge. Mm-hmm. I actually found Mr. Money Mustache somewhere around my junior year of college, and he and other financial independence bloggers laid out like kind of the roadmap that I wanted to follow. Save bunches of money at the beginning, and then you can quit working early. And I was like, done, sold. That's my goal now.
And I understand that that has come to fruition recently?
Somewhat, yeah, and in a different flavor than I expected. But I did quit my job a month ago, so I can move up here, and we could be together. Mm-hmm. But it's not. I'm not retired. Mm-hmm. I'm just financially independent and free to do do my endeavors online. Yeah, you're pursuing your passions on things that you're really excited about, and I mean that's when you think about life, isn't that what it's all about? I mean, having the freedom and the time to do things that you love. Yeah, it's great. That's good. Congratulations. It's a good life choice that you're making. I would agree with that. Would you agree? Yes. Erik, as she's talking about her successes and working hard through high school and through college to become debt free and then set herself up on a good path through her career and now the choices that she's made. We talk about some of the relationships that didn't work out. Is Gwen's personal finance savvy, is that something that attracted to you originally when you were getting together? Or are these conversations that she's talking about right now just saying, "Hey, wow, this just makes sense for me. We've met up with we've started to date somebody that just kind of pairs up well with us." I don't know. What do you think? Well, it's really interesting, and it also kind of goes back to the expectations thing. Mm-hmm. And I think we might get into this a little bit later in the episode too, but just like, I really didn't have any expectations when we met, and I don't think Gwen did either. So like, for example, I was able to get rid of my student loans very fast after college. I only had a little bit, and so then I was able to get rid of it, and then I had a car loan for a little bit, got rid of that in a couple of months because consumer debt doesn't make sense to me, but that's a topic for another day. So when you start to build wealth, and all of a sudden you're free from debt, you're free from whatever, your income grows to a certain level, you have that delta between your income and expenses that's wide enough where you're reaching your goals, all of a sudden the world just opens up to you. And so then that was probably the alignment last June, is that both me and Gwen, we both were open to meeting someone who could fill the partner void, if you want to say that. Yeah. And it, like I said, there wasn't really any expectations. It just kind of worked. And then thinking about some past relationships, there was one girl who I ended up, there was the straw that broke the camel's back, but she told me her debt situation. And I already was on the fence, so that I was like, okay, well, this is probably going to work out. But like, I don't know. Again, my goal is to be the provider for my family in the future. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different, I guess, but for us, it was good. Well, that's great. That's great. So
you guys both are very personal finance savvy, and you both care about that a lot, as I do. How often are you guys talking about your financial situation? I know that when people get together in relationships, it's often something that is not spoken about enough. But knowing your propensity to have these types of conversations, how often are you guys talking about it?
I would say a better question to ask, Andy, is how often are we not
Are you
talking
not talking about it?
Because a much greater percentage of time that we are talking about something that's tangentially at least money related than we're not.
Yeah. Well, I had a conversation with Erin Lowry, who wrote a book, A Broke Millennial, and that's a big part of her conversation is having those financially naked conversations, in your relationship, especially as you guys are, a year into your relationship now. So having that openness and transparency is probably, done wonders for it already.
Huge, yeah.
Very cool. So, you guys are living together now, so that's a big step. Are you guys? I know you're both on this entrepreneurial track. Are you guys figuring out any ways to combine your financial superpowers now that you're together?
He motivates me and offers suggestions on how I can do things differently, and then I can offer him advice on the other side from starting a podcast and blog, and so yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's definitely motivating when I'm like, oh, it's my best day, and then Gwen's like, oh, I have 3 times as many views. And it's like, oh my god. Or for example, the podcast, like I don't know how many times more views, pictures, or downloads. I'm just like,
it's a lot.
Well, if you got somebody living with you that can motivate you, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in all ways, and so if I'm spending time with a superstar, then that'll lift me up over time.
We'll be back to the show in just a moment after a word from our sponsors. Are you looking for an easy way to manage your money? The good folks at Tiller are here to help. Tiller is the only tool that automatically imports transactions and balances into Google Sheets, so you can track spending, manage a budget, pay off debt, and grow your net worth. Recently, Tiller released an all-new budgeting system that connects to over 16,000 banks, credit card companies, brokerages, and loan accounts. Their newest features include support for envelope and zero-sum budgeting, the ability to track savings goals, and a more vibrant and easier to understand design. After all, there's nothing better than a beautiful budget. If you want more control of your money, you gotta give Tiller a try today. For a 30-day free trial of this versatile budgeting system, go to marriagekidsandmoney.com/Tiller. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/Tiller, Tiller. With Tiller, you always know exactly where your money goes. Have you ever wondered if there was an easy way to make your 401k grow? After all, it's probably your biggest retirement asset. There is, and it's called Bloom. Bloom is a robo-advisor for your 401k. They'll plug in your current account and find ways to optimize your 401k, picking funds for you and investing your hard-earned money in a diversified portfolio for a fraction of the cost of a traditional financial advisor. With Bloom, you can simply connect your existing 401k in a few easy steps. Then sit back and relax while Bloom performs a free, unbiased analysis of the funds in your account, and then chooses the best mix to meet your goals while minimizing hidden investment fees. Go online to marriagekidsandmoney.com/Bloom to get your free 401k checkup now. Bloom is so simple. In fact, the hardest part of Bloom is remembering that there are 3 O's in Bloom. Go to marriagekidsandmoney.com/Bloom and enter the promo code MKM for your first month free, and see the difference Bloom can make in your retirement. Thanks for considering our sponsors today, everybody. Let's jump back into that interview. So you guys are living together now. How do you work out the expenses? Obviously, this is probably a topic of conversation quite a bit. Who pays for what? How does this work?
So I do give some money to Erik each month for the rent to go towards those kind of expenses, and then I'll pick up some other stuff here and there if I'm like out running errands or something. During the day, I can stop by the grocery store on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. and it's the best thing ever. So I can do that, but then he pretty much just covers whatever else.
Cool. Nice. Very cool. Have you guys had any sort of tough money chats yet in your relationship or living together now? Or?
Well, there's two interesting money conversations that we've had. And one was related to me and one was related to her, where 2 months ago, Gwen put an offer in on a duplex. And the weekend before, I had went and saw it. We thought it was good. So then it was like we went through the numbers together. We thought that the numbers checked out. She put an offer in. And then when the inspection came back, it was going to be a ton of work. Her face is... Yeah, but so we had a tough money conversation there where it's like, okay, you're leaving your job. Can you afford to bring on this new property that needs a ton of work? Would that work even if there is full renting and your current house, which is a triplex, if that was fully rented, would you be comfortable? Or on the flip side as well, if it was not rented, would you be comfortable money-wise, cash flow-wise? So we had that tough conversation. And then ultimately the decision was made to drop that property. Yeah. Well, you've already talked about it. It's May. So
Yeah.
And so we had that conversation. And then the second one was back in last year, I bought some cryptocurrencies and I didn't tell Gwen. And so then a few months later, she got a little bit upset. Not that I had bought them, but that I didn't told her.
That's good. Transparency, openness, communication. These are all good things. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I was like, so what's up with this cryptocurrency? And he was like,
Well, when did you buy it, I guess, is the good question.
August.
Okay. All right. I was going to say if you bought it in August 2011 or something like that, then probably be a different story.
I don't think I'd be here. I'd be at a beach somewhere.
That's right. Well, cool. Well, if you guys were to move down the path of marriage, I mean, you guys have been dating for a year. You're living together now. What are your thoughts on a prenup?
It's kind of interesting. Now that I've been doing different things with business and looking at those agreements, I think that it'd be valuable in certain cases. But right now, Gwen and I are at a very similar spot in terms of net worth, assets, liabilities, things like that.
Yep.
So we would just need to take a look at it. And right now, I'm not too concerned about that because, like I said, number one is we're in a similar spot financially.
Yep.
And then number two is that communication is something that we both value and that we both work on.
Yeah.
And so that's really good. And that's another thing that I'm sure that there's a lot of couples that might not, like that's probably why they don't talk about money, is that communication just in general might not be there. And that's something that I've had to work on a ton. I'm a math major who was very introverted growing up, and now I've had to work on my communication. And so it's just growing up and figuring out like how to do it, I guess. But yeah, so back to the prenup talk, I'd have to just do the research. We'd have to explore it. So I think at this point, I'm open to it.
Right.
But I don't know enough about it to really give you a definitive answer.
And you know what? Neither do I. I was just interested because you guys are so financially focused that I'm just wondering if that's become a conversation. For me, when I got married, I was broke. I was like a negative net worth. I didn't have any assets. I had a house that the mortgage was higher than the actual cost of it. So I'm not sure that there was not much to split. I guess we'll say that. But we weren't also, Nicole and I weren't having really a lot of conversations about money, when we got together, and you guys are. So I was just interested to that. I don't know the right answer, or even if there is one, it's probably all personal based on your situation. So yeah, just interesting conversation for, people who are getting to that point. One other thing that, I also made a mistake about when I was getting married is that I spent a ton of money on my wife's engagement ring because I didn't actually have any, and I borrowed against my student loans in order to buy it. So, Gwen, I have to ask, what is the diamond ring situation now for ladies, or I guess just probably for you in general? Is it still a thing? Is it something that you're interested in if you guys are moving towards marriage? What do you think?
Well, I will speak for myself. I will not
Absolutely.
speak for all women or millennial women. For myself, I am kind of going to poop all over this, but
Okay.
I don't see the point, really. I mean, that $10,000 or, whatever could go towards an investment or something, that's going to be an asset. And traditional diamond rings are just a depreciating asset because the market so over. Anyway, I'm not going to go all out for the bling.
Cool.
So, if anything, what I think would be really fun to do is if since the resale value of diamonds is so low, a lot of jewelry is pretty cheap when sold on the secondhand market. So I think it'd be really fun if we did like a scavenger hunt throughout the day. We just went to a ton of different like secondhand shops or pawn shops or something and looked to see at all the jewelry they had.
This would be such an interesting blog or podcast episode, you guys. If this, if you go down this path, you guys are going to have you're not only are you guys have a great relationship right now, but you're chock full of content right now in the future. So write all this stuff down as you guys go through this adventure together, because I think you got something there.
Well, I want to start a YouTube channel. That could be the vlog. That could be a vlog.
There you go. I mean, think about the people who are in the similar situation, or just opinions on diamond rings in general, or prenup, or things like that. The things that you're going through, you're making decisions on. Real people figuring it out. Totally.
But actually, we should start a YouTube channel tonight.
But seriously, let's start with that.
Maybe we're gonna be like,
I don't know what the name is. We need to come up with one. The name matters so much.
Absolutely.
Mastermind?
Something with mastermind in it, right? Well, Erik, if you guys, there's probably some folks listening right now who are single that have a little bit of a frugal mindset. What advice would you have for them, for those folks who are looking to find their frugal significant other?
Well, one thing that worked for me and something that I preach on my blog is going from somewhat of a scarcity mindset, which many people have in the world, to an abundance mindset. And this is something that I try to live with, and this is something that Gwen lives with as well, in that, like, let's just talk in general here. When you meet someone who could be a potential significant other, if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. And that's something that that took me many years to actually realize, where all of a sudden I realized, okay, this one, she didn't work out, but there's still 3.5 billion other women out in the world. Like that's the abundance mindset right there. Like, there are so many other people who could be out there who are potentially a better fit for you. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it's one, thinking a little bit more in line with having an abundance mindset. And then number two, just going out and meeting people. Like, as an introvert, this is something that, like, just getting out and just meeting people, just figuring out exactly who's your type is essentially the question that you're trying to answer there. Like, I thought that my type was one way when I was 18, and then all of a sudden when I was 21, it was someone different. And then when I was 24, 25, and now I'm almost 26, and yeah, it seemed to change over time, and it was just leading me towards someone who fits perfectly, I guess, if you want to say that. But like, it's just, I don't know, that's my path that I took, is just experimenting, living with an abundance mindset, knowing that there's always someone out there. If someone doesn't like you, or if you weren't their one, well, then it's probably good to then go and be open to finding someone else, because and I'm someone who believes in fate. So obviously, going back there, it's like, if it didn't work out, then it wasn't meant to be.
I love it, man. Well, that can work in so many ways too: relationships, careers, or even just trying out entrepreneurial adventures, things like that. Their opportunity. There's so many opportunities out there for you. So I love that. I love that piece of advice. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. That's exactly what I preach as well on my blog as well. Just like abundance mindset, like something that I've talked about with some of my friends is like, how many millions of trillions of dollars are out there in the world? How can we not just skim off just a little bit through whatever endeavor we're doing, whether that be podcasting or blogging, like it's possible. People can do it. You can do anything you want in the world. It's just consistent effort and doing it, and eventually you'll get there. And so, yeah, like you said, it can be applied so many ways.
I love it, man. That's cool. Well, Gwen, I know you have this similar passion and drive towards financial independence. Was there a book that influenced you in your journey as you're starting to develop yourself, getting rid of debt and building your wealth through financial independence?
So there actually really wasn't a book per se, because there weren't really books being written at that point about financial independence specifically. I mean, there was like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and everything, but I didn't read those. I would say blogs are what's the most influential part. And a blog that got turned into a book is J.L. Collins, The Simple Path to Wealth. All of that content that he turned into a book from his blog, J.L. Collins and H, is so incredibly helpful, and really set me on the what I considered good investing, I guess.
Excellent. Yeah, I've read that book. I love it. I mean, the title says it all. Simple Path to Wealth.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Breaks down the complexities of what has been made in the financial industry to seem so confusing. So you have to, break down and work with financial advisors and get all those fees and all that good stuff. So no, I like that. That's great. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time with me tonight. I want to help people find you and learn more about you. Erik, where's the best place for people to learn about you and follow your work?
Yeah, going on to the personal finance self-improvement blog that I run, The Mastermind Within. Googling that would be easiest way to get there. It's themastermindwithin.com.
Excellent. And then Gwen, how about you? Where's the best place for people to learn about you?
Yeah, so you can hear most recent up-to-date content on the Fire Drill podcast, and that's on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and all those other podcast apps. And you can reach us through email at firedrillpodcast@gmail.com. Or sometimes I occasionally write for my own blog at the same time, which is Fiery Millennials. So you can reach me through there as well.
Excellent. Well, I'll make sure to put all of these links in the show notes, everybody, for you to catch up with both Erik and Gwen. And congratulations on your new relationship. Well, not even new anymore. Your relationship. And best of luck in the future, guys. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks, Andy.
These two are in their mid-20s and already have a combined net worth of almost $500,000. Talk about a power couple. When Nicole and I got together in our mid to late 20s, it was probably, I think we were 26. Yeah, we had about negative $50,000 net worth. So needless to say, I'm impressed with the lives these two have built for themselves. I love how their pursuit of financial independence brought them together in the first place. They both enjoy writing and podcasting and teaching others about this FI lifestyle. It's so inspiring. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this fun chat with Gwen and Erik. Number 1, talk about finances early on in your relationship. Just like sex, religion, and the in-laws, money is a super important topic that needs to be discussed when things start to get serious in a romantic relationship. You heard Gwen and Erik talk about how important it was for them with the relationships that didn't work out, a major difference in opinion on financial goals, or even people's general opinion on debt can be a huge factor in whether a relationship is a go or no-go. Number 2, keep the money chats going throughout the relationship. Gwen and Erik are superstars with this one, obviously. Much like the host of this money podcast, they could talk about dollars and cents until they're blue in the face. But for those of us who aren't personal finance podcasters, simply keeping an open dialogue with our partners is crucial to the harmony of the relationship. It is much better to be honest and over-communicate than the other way around. Number 3, when things get serious, act like it. Even though topics like prenups and engagement ring prices are totally uncomfortable ones to have with your significant other, Gwen and Erik are demonstrating how to step up to the relationship plate and knock it out of the park. These difficult conversations are so important, and they'll honestly spark some very serious chats. Chats that will really help define the next 60 years of your life. So, needless to say, they are important. Have them. Those were my top 3 takeaways. Number 1, talk about finances early on in the relationship. Number 2, keep the money chats going throughout the relationship. And then number 3, when things get serious, act like it. If you haven't quite found your future Mr. or Mrs., have no fear. Just act like Erik. Get out there, meet a lot of people, and have an abundance mindset. As he said, there are billions of potential matches out there for you. Here's to creating your best relationship, my friends. Now it's time to announce the Money Master of the Week. David from Minneapolis sent in a voicemail about his recent student debt destruction. Actually, wow, Minneapolis is full of winners. That's where Erik and Gwen are from, too. David, tell us all about your victory, my friend.
Hey, Andy. Thanks for having me on your amazing podcast. I'm David, and my wife, Allie, and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Our latest money win was paying off $52,000 of student loans in 13 months. When my wife graduated from her full-time MBA program, we had a grand total of $52K in undergrad and graduate loans. How did we pay it off so fast? Well, I had a very small salary of just over $30K at that time, so my wife finding a post-school job that more than doubled my salary was a great starting point. When she graduated, we said game on. We started shopping at discount grocery stores. We just about stopped eating out. We kept our dinner dates to once a month. We found relatively cheap housing, and we tracked every dollar we spent. We basically put her entire salary towards debt. We're talking about $3,000 to $4,000 a month of cash flow being hurled at this beast. We also were able to fully contribute to both of our Roth IRAs during this time. I'm telling you, sticking to a budget is magical. This journey has led us to a place where we love to encourage other couples to take control of their financial futures. You can find me at wealthyweds.com, where we talk about personal finance for couples. We have a vision to see marriages thrive and finances flourish. Thanks a lot, Andy. Keep winning.
David, I agree. Sticking to a budget is magical. David and Allie partnered together and crushed this student debt. This is in a time where the student debt in our country is crippling the financial growth of 44 million Americans. David and Allie said, "Nah, we're just going to clean it up right now." Allie worked on top of schooling. They decreased the food budget, the eating out budget, all those little things to make a difference, and they tracked everything. And now David and Allie want to help other couples win like they have. Check them out at wealthyweds.com. And who knows? You might just have a debt-free and wealthy relationship just like they do. David, thank you for reaching out, and congratulations for being our Money Master of the Week. Do you have a recent financial victory that you want to share in the show? Please reach out to me at andy@marriagekidsandmoney.com, or do like David did and leave me a voicemail at marriagekidsandmoney.com/voicemail. I would love to hear from you either way. You'll find all the links and resources for today's show at marriagekidsandmoney.com/session 87. I have a super fun announcement before we go, everybody. I'm doing our very first meetup on July 19th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Royal Oak Brewery in Royal Oak, Michigan. So if you are interested in meeting up, having a beer or a soda or a pop, depending on where you're from, we say pop here in Michigan, and, just chatting and talking about money with me, I would love to meet you. I've developed a Facebook event with all the details, and you can find it by liking my Facebook page at facebook.com/AndyHillMKM. That's facebook.com/AndyHillMKM. Or You can go directly to the invite itself at marriagekidsandmoney.com/meetup. I just kind of made that easy for you. marriagekidsandmoney.com/meetup. We'll pretty much just hang out and chat about anything, like topics like marriage, kids, and money. I hope to see you there. July 19th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Royal Oak Brewery in Royal Oak, Michigan. And just in case you're listening to this in another year, this is in 2018. Just to be clear. So hope to see you there. Cheers. In the spirit of growth and inspiration, I'm going to end the show with a quote today from Unknown. One day, someone will walk into your life and make you see why it never worked out with anyone else. Here's to creating your happiest, healthiest, and wealthiest relationship, everyone. Carpe diem.